Hello, welcome to Shaunkelt Dog Training. This is a quick video just to show some different leash and collar options. One of my favorite leashes is this slip lead that just pops over, okay, we'll do you. Just pops over their head, and it has this little component that slides down to kind of lock that in place. So, because otherwise without that, this can slide down and slide right back over their head. So that just kind of locks it into place. But I call that just a flat leash. So I like that for a leash option. Thank you, Miss Sterling, for showing us that. Scarlett's like, what do I get to show you? You want to show us this one? This collar is called a martingale. Oh, you want one? This collar is called a martingale collar. A martingale collar has this extra strap that pulls. Good girl, Scarlett. You can show us this. It pulls the collar closed so that it can't slip over their head, and so you just attach the leash to that. And I just like that for safety reasons, because then as you're walking, it can't slide over their head if it's fitted properly. I'm not here to show you exactly how to fit the collars. I will just tell you, and honestly, the video is too far away to really show that anyways, but you don't run into her. They're playing. If there's too much space, once this collar has closed, I'll show it this way instead of being around her neck. Hi, you're done now. I don't need you right now. As it's closed, if there's a lot of space between the dog's neck, it can still slide over their head. So the secret is that once it's closed, it just be snug on the dog's neck where it can't slide over their head. So that's just safety reasons for walking. This collar is just the regular buckle collar. And again, if it's not tight enough to their neck, it can just end up sliding right back over their head, like we can show with Scarlett here. Because that's a little loose, and if I were to pull it, just goes right over her head. And sometimes I find on these regular buckle collars, depending on how, sometimes just the leash pulling tends to make the collar get a little bit bigger than maybe it was when you put it over on their neck. Sometimes it's because the collar is just a little bit older that it will do that. So again, to avoid surprises, I tend to stick with the martingale collars for walking in public, or just this basic slip lead for walking around. So the other thing I wanted to show you was, I'm going to call it the dreaded, the spiky collar. So this is called a prong collar or a training collar. And I've put this around my leg and taken both hands and pulled up on it. And I'm kind of pressing it into my leg now, and it doesn't hurt. There's just even pressure all the way around. I will say about any of these collars, I never leave any collars on my dogs unless I have the leash attached, is the only reason I'd put the collar on. So as you can see, none of them have any collars on. Rue can show, oh, it's okay, baby. Does your ear hurt? Can show this this collar. That's the martingale collar where it can slide over her head, but then once I grab that and close it, it can't slide back over. Good girl. You want to show the prong collar too? She's like, sure. So the prong collar goes on her. And with the prong, you just want it to be, you can still fit your fingers between their neck and the prong collar. But again, that when you, it's not what I call like a necklace or a shoulder harness, where it's so big that you could fit two hands in there or something. So it's just so that it fits kind of snug on the neck. But as you can see, with the freedom of these dogs right here, no one cares. I don't think Scarlett's ever worn a prong collar. So this scenario, you can tell it's way too big for Scarlett. I could just slide it right back over her head without even unclipping it. So that's just a little bit on the collar fit. I'm losing my microphone because I'm upside down. Point was that I don't keep any collar on the dog unless I'm holding the leash. So with this, I'll attach a leash to it. Some people might say, which of these collars or leashes should I use to train my dog on how to walk properly on a leash? The other option that I don't have, I do have a little one for my small dog, which is a harness, because the harness is the other option. So some people, and we're here for free training advice, I kind of just ran through these collars as an extra, but what does that look like from a training standpoint? What do I need to be able to train my dog? I like to train on the flat collars or the flat leash. This really is my favorite because, again, it's a one size fits all. I don't have to fit it to fit each individual dog, especially with me having multiple dogs. I can just put it over their head and go for a walk. I don't have to worry about which one was this dog fitted for last. And again, should there be a surprise and the dog pulls backward for some reason, am I gonna be left holding the collar and not have the dog and have the dog be loose? So I like the slip lead, the basic slip lead. But again, when you've just got one dog and it's properly fitted, it's very easy to just put their regular collar on and just use what I call a flat collar. That's how I teach leash pressure. Once the dog knows and understands, do you want to do a demo, Scarlett? Hi, Venus says, what about me? Scarlett's not going to get far enough away to do a demo. So I was just going to show you that the dog moves to, hi, Sterling, moves to leash pressure. Let's see if I can get her to back up from it. Up there. So I'm putting some pressure on the leash to go backwards, and she's a little reluctant. She's like, I want to be by you, but she is taking a few steps backwards. So that's teaching a dog what leash pressure means. There, I put her sideways, let's put her that way. She's just following the pressure of the leash just by a couple steps, and then I release the pressure. So I always teach the leash pressure and what leash pressure means on the flat leash and the flat collar. When would I ever use a prong collar? I like to use a prong collar for opportunistic pullers or surprise pullers. You could call them surge kind of dogs, where you're like, everything's hunky-dory, I'm going for this walk, and all of a sudden your dog's like, squirrel or cat, and it's like, whew, and the dog just wants to surge into the end of the leash. It goes from walking politely on this loose leash to just wanting to fly off somewhere. Sometimes, as I'm giving this example, it could be to chase something, whatever's going on. It could just be that the dog gets excited. Oh my gosh, we're almost home. And all of a sudden they try to take off. That's helpful because once the dog knows and understands what the leash pressure actually means, then if they're going to take opportunities to be like, oh, I just really am excited and I really want this, and they want to just take off. What I like about the prong collar is it's what I call self-correcting, meaning if you just stand there and hold the leash real tight, the collar does the work for you. As far as kind of takes some of the brunt, because on the flat collar, if the dog goes to fly off, we're the one taking the brunt of that force. And if you have the prong collar and you can kind of station yourself, then the dog ends up taking a bit more of the impact as opposed to you. So for people that are outmatched with heavy pullers or surprise pullers, someone that's elderly, they just can't afford to accidentally get pulled over by their dog, something like that, prong collars can be an excellent option. But what I want to show you, you can show us, even though this collar is way too big for you. You saw Scarlett walk on the flat leash, and now we're going to see her go on with the prong collar. And has she felt the prong collar? Well, no, because the leash is loose. So when your dog is trained, as she is, she's just following me on a loose leash. So if I were to take her for a full walk, the leash is loose. So I say, what does it matter if it's the prong collar or the flat collar or a flat leash if the leash is loose while you're walking? So these are loose leashes, right? Not tight and pulling. So that's why, again, if you look at weighing your options of harness versus collar versus prong collar, I say you have to train the dog first. And if the dog, I haven't even gotten into harnesses, but I know this video is getting long already. Harnesses don't give you control over the dog's head. That's why I like collars. And harnesses are made for pulling. That's what the sled dogs wear. So I would prefer to teach the dog what the leash pressure means on a flat collar and a flat leash. And then if the dog is really good and understands the pressure, they might transfer to a harness just fine and be respectful of that same pressure. And Then for dogs that are surprise pullers or opportunistic, or again, that for just owner general safety, that the owner's not getting flung around by the dog, that might be big and strong, you can always graduate the dog once they've learned what the leash pressure means to the prong collar. One of the other things that I've done for really heavy pullers, Scarlett's like, this is great. Just stand here and be the demo dog. Is walking with 2 leashes. So then I have the flat leash or a leash attached to the flat collar. And then if a dog is trying to pull harder than I'm comfortable with, or I'm getting to the point like, I don't know if I can hang on here, then I can come with the prong collar as a way to give a tap tap or a little bit of a correction to try to encourage the dog to lighten up on the flat leash. So anyway, wanted to put that out there for the leash options and collar options, which not really, I mean, this is a leash option as a substitute for a collar option. I do love the leather leads, by the way. That's just my favorite, as opposed to the nylon leashes. I also like the 5 or 6 foot leads, especially for the big dogs. I feel like the 4 foot leads are just a little bit too short. But obviously that's just personal. It's all just personal preference. So do whatever you want, do your research, and decide what works best for you and your dog. Feel free to join in our leash walking program if it's something that you have some trouble with. It breaks it down. Let's go at your own pace and breaks it down really well, where you can explain to your dog what the leash pressure actually means. Because believe it or not, your dog's not pulling to be bad or naughty. They probably just never were taught what the leash pressure really means and how to give to the leash pressure. So we have a good system set up to be able to do all that and get you and your buddy out and about, walking happy and free, along with our other programs like no jumping and formal obedience and all the things. So feel free to join in. Contact me if you ever have any questions and want some guidance. And anything you do sign up for, we're always there to help you through every step of the way. All right, happy training.